Good evening, I'm Emma Jane Vere and this is Television Tonga News. In the headlines, a new solar farm launched in Vava'o. His Serene Highness Prince Tupilehake carries out his Kitchen Club program for boarding students at Queen Charlotte College, and a prize-giving ceremony held for students of the Ofatuimo Amanaki Centre. These and more stories, including news from the Pacific, sports, world and the weather information later on in this bulletin. Let's take a look at the news in detail. His Royal Highness Crown Prince Tupoto'a Ulukalala officially launched a new solar farm system for the islands of Vava'o. In the special program which took place yesterday, it was attended by the Prime Minister, Lord Tu'ivarano, the Governor of Vava'o, Lord Fulivai, and many more guests. Here's Anasi Falekaono with more on that story.
The opening speech during the launch program for Vava'o's new solar farm was delivered by the Vava'o Governor, Lord Fulivai. He expressed sincere gratitude for the project, which is funded by the United Arab Emirates. He adds that the solar farm will help the island better adapt with the economic crisis which affects the Pacific region, Tonga included. The new solar farm is located next to the Tonga Power Limited site in Vava'o and is estimated at 5 million per anga. TV Tonga News correspondent in Vava'o, Ludovico Tapueluelu, says the 5,000-kilometre solar farm is the first for Vava'o. He adds that in the past weeks, the Japanese government carried out similar solar energy projects for 11 smaller islands in Vava'o.
The former Minister of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries and Food, His Serene Highness Prince Tupilehake, carries out his Kitchen Club program for boarding students at Queen Charlotte College. The aim is to teach people how to prepare food for a large gathering or the masses, especially during a disaster. Sini Latu was there and filed this report.
His Serene Highness Prince Tupilehake inspected how boarding students of Queen Charlotte College prepared their food for a large gathering. The activity was to prepare lunch for more than 200 boarding students. His Serene Highness Prince Tupilehake speaks more about the Kitchen Club program.
In trying to cook the nutritious food for a large group of people, which we have identified Queen Charlotte College. And also, we're not using them as guinea pigs, but we're using them to work together. It arises from the fact that I saw in some government report that the tsunami level for Tonga, or warning level, is extreme. And I think the part of the responsibility of the government is to start practicing or becoming aware if a natural disaster would happen. So it's better to prepare before than waiting until the day happens. It's too late. And even when it happens, we're not going to wait around for a week or 2 weeks to start feeding the people. The infrastructure should be there.
The school's head tutor, Reverend Tutaleva Lolohea, praised the food program initiated by Prince Tupilehake. Before Prince Tupilehake visited the school, he requested for a tutor and 10 girls to be taught a new recipe or dish for the school. They were taught how to cook mince and spaghetti with less meat and more vegetables. This is the same dish they're cooking for the students. This dish can be cooked again in the future, and it's an easy and healthy recipe. This is one of the activities carried out under the Kitchen Club program, in which His Serene Highness Prince Tupilehake works in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries and Food. For Television Tonga News, I'm Sini Lato.
The village of Utu in Vava'o has been moved from the electoral constituency of Vava'o 15 to Vava'o 16. A commissioner of the Electoral Boundaries Commission, Dr. Nailaskau Halatuituia, revealed this to Television Tonga News this morning. Here's Fatai Whainga'a with the details.
The changes made is because Vava'o constituency number 15 is greater than Vava'o constituency number 16. However, according to the Electoral Boundaries Act 2010, if one constituency is greater than another constituency by 10%, work should be done or measures must be made to ensure that it is balanced. However, the recent changes makes Vava'o constituency number 15 to a total of 5 villages altogether, while Vava'o constituency number 16 totaled to 11 villages altogether. From the Parliament of Tonga, I'm Fatai Whaingaa.
The United Nations new resident coordinator to the Pacific countries, Osnet Lubrani, arrived in Nuku'alofa earlier this afternoon. Lubrani leads the United Nations delegation to attend the Tongan Government and United Nations Development Assistance Framework and the Tonga Strategic Development Programme Review 2013. While in Tonga, Lubrani presents her credentials to the Honourable Prime Minister, Lord Te Whanganō, and attends the launch programme of Tonga's Millennium Development Goals, or MDG Acceleration Report 2013. The government's acceleration report is funded by the UN. After the launch programme, the United Nations representatives pay a courtesy call upon Her Royal Highness Princess Meles Uliktapu Kalani Valufotofili before they depart Tonga tomorrow. The patron of the Ofaduimo Amanaki Centre, Lady Alaileula Tuku'aho, is calling on society to break down barriers and open doors for an inclusive society. She made the appeal during a prize-giving ceremony for students of the Ofaduimo Amanaki Centre, which was held today. Anasiu Falekaono has more on that story.
The Ofaduimo Amanaki Centre held its prize-giving ceremony at the Tonga Red Cross Society premises. The Honourable Etani Tuku'aho presented prizes to the students of the Ofaduimo Amanaki Centre. In a keynote speech from the patron of the centre, Lady Alaileula Tuku'aho, she says people with disabilities are still part of the society and contribute to the development of the kingdom. The main objective is to break barriers, open doors for inclusive society and the development for all. Therefore, I strongly support this, that we need to involve disabled people in building our society and the country. One teacher from the centre, Lesia Litonga, says it's important to make these special children with disabilities to feel welcome and cared for, and this should begin at home. The lifestyle of the disabilities at home, they need to be counted as one of the members of the family. By taking care of them, they will feel accepted, especially by their family and friends. After the formalities, the students of the centre provided entertainment for the guest. Anasiu Falekaono for Television Tonga News.
From the Supreme Court, in the latest turn of events in the jury trial between the former Attorney General John Cauchi and the Government of Tonga, the trial has been adjourned to the 23rd of January 2014. Furthermore, the Chief Justice Michael Scott discharged the jury members for the trial this afternoon. Fatai Whaingaa tells you more.
Chief Justice Michael Scott made the decision to discharge the jury members after receiving submissions from the legal counsels for both parties. Lucky New represents the plaintiff, John Cauchi, while the Attorney General, Neil Edzard, represents the government. The jury members were discharged based on an application from one of the parties. 7 members of the jury were selected ever since the jury trial started last Tuesday, November 19th. No other information has been released regarding the trial. In this trial, the former Attorney General is seeking almost 1 million pa'anga he claims is owed to him by government for his contract of employment. John Cauchi was expected to fulfill his contract of employment by 2012. Instead, he resigned in 2010. For Television Tonga News, I'm Fatai Whaingaa.
79% of women and girls in Tonga have experienced some sort of physical or sexual violence in their lifetime by a partner, someone they know, or a stranger. That's according to a report from the United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women. The report states that women and girls account for half of the human capital available to reduce poverty and achieve development. Yet, gender-based violence undermines human rights, social stability and security, public health, women's educational and employment opportunities, and the well-being and development prospects of children and communities. These are all fundamental factors to achieving long-term stability and growth. Factors that contribute to violence include the low status of women legally and culturally, and the lack of access to services including the justice service and other protective measures. That's the local news. Pacific is next.